Well, not much Canes related to talk about. I'm still expecting the exact same outcome of we like our group. There was something going around about Bobby McMahon, and you guys know that I've mentioned him before. I actually did I talked about him on a stream one time when I was taking notes on him in particular, that I thought that he would be a good rental, like a guy that you just need to grab. That you just need to grab and let him go when the season's over so that Nadeau has a path up. So that's actually that was like damage control, acceptable amounts of it if it were Bobby McMahon. But the last thing I saw that, I'm going to be watching a lot of stuff on here and looking at stuff on my phone. I'm keeping track of a bunch of different stuff here. It looks like that's not the case. I mean, honestly, I would call this trade deadline a moderate success if they just got Bobby McMahon, because he's big, he's fast, he puts up a decent amount of offense, and he can throw hits. AJ Greer wouldn't do much, Reese. It helps a little bit. Greer is more of a pest than a goon, and that's the only thing about it. So, no, the Avs trade wasn't finalized yet. I don't think it was anyway. They're talking again, but I don't think it's finalized. But everybody that I wanted to get is going to go to either. I don't know, man. It's just like the thing about it is this isn't even enjoyable, really, because and I'm guilty of this too. But and I like Adam Gold, but the thing he said about how it's just insurance for. It's just insurance for what the Canes already have. Another depth forward, another depth defenseman. You have three guys on the defensive depth chart below your regular six defensemen, and they're all capable. Riley, Legault, Nystrom. Why even spend assets on that you could use later for something else? This is one of those situations where it needs to be a go big or go home type of thing. Bobby McMahon is the closest thing that there is to that's a good move. Maybe not the best one you could have made, but it helps. The market does suck. You're right about that, Wizard. It does suck, but I don't know, man. It seems like the Canes always miss out, regardless of whether there's a good market or not. And it went from a buyer's market to a seller's market in about 24 hours, and then back again, and then back again. But if this team really does have the mentality that see the thing that worries me about him, Adam's pretty plugged in. If what he said was true, which I imagine that he heard it from people within the organization because that's where he gets his information, I'd imagine. If they were only looking to supplement the lineup they have with a forward that's between 12 and 14 on the Nick Delorier. For real? Okay, hold up. I'm looking for it. Yeah. But the thing about it is, if the organization's mentality really is 12th to 14th forward or 7th and 8th defenseman, then they were never really all in on this season. At the same time, they're not going to disclose that because they don't want to look desperate because other teams will take advantage of you on the trade market. So, we normally don't know, if ever. We normally don't know as fans until later on what actually happens. At first I was convinced that Gensel was the problem in his negotiation. It turned out that the front office was a problem and that he actually really liked Rod's coaching style. He liked his fit. He wanted to stay, all that. Nick Deslauriers, 1 point in 24 games. Hold up. Let me look at this. Well, he's an old school forward and a bruiser and everything like that. And I mean, they probably got him for cheap, like a 7th rounder or something like that, I would hope. I mean, it's something, but I just don't see how that really helps. I don't understand that one. He's kind of just an enforcer, Nick Deslauriers is. I mean, we needed one of those, you could say, or Carolina needed one of those, you could say, but I guess he's going to go out there and try and, get Kucherov off the ice for 5 minutes in the conference finals, should Carolina make it that far. We still got an hour and 7 minutes, so don't give up just yet. I'm not giving up yet, but that helps, but it's marginal. It's the top 6 needs another forward, even if it's not a center, man. Just that's why I would have been okay with getting Bobby McMann. If you bring Bobby McMann and Nick Deslauriers, that doesn't move the needle as much as a bigger move would, but that helps. It does help. I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't. It's not the impactful move I was hoping for personally, but it does help. Like it's not a ton of help, but the team does lack size, toughness, and grit at times. And Nick Deslauriers is all those things if he is nothing else. So I do not hate this trade at all. I want to see what the finalization of it is. It had to be just like a late pick or something. It couldn't have been much. It helps, just not much. That can't be the only trade today. Please don't let that be the only trade today. There's got to be something else. Keep refreshing my feed. My F5 key is going to fall off my damn keyboard. I know we disagree on that, Dealey, and we're just going to disagree on that one, man, because I don't think that there's enough skill, particularly in the top 6. I mean, even though they claim up and down Carolina doesn't have one, in a way it doesn't have one, but for Deslauriers, it was probably just a late round pick. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, Deslauriers shouldn't cost you much. Now, KK is basically just he's dust in the wind, unfortunately, man. I if they downloaded KK for Deslauriers, that's kind of bad asset management. But either way, he needs to be out of here, so I wouldn't be too upset about that. I like KK, and I hope that he will go somewhere where he'll actually get to play and maybe rediscover his game a little bit instead of being in the press box. A late round pick, I figured that's all it would be for Deslauriers. That's about par for the course with a trade like that. That does help. I mean, it does help. And it's a cheap acquisition, so I don't see any reason why you don't do that. I just hope that's not the only one. So we have Nick Ehlers and Nick Deslauriers. All right. Conditional 2027 7th, I believe. Okay. That's not bad at all. That's not bad. It clears a little bit of cap for Philly. All right, so let's see what all we got on here. Okay, so Vinny Hinostroza went to the Panthers for future considerations. Corey Perry went to the Kings for a 2028 second round, or Corey Perry went from the Kings to the Lightning for a 2028 second round pick. Nick Foligno went to the Minnesota Wild from the Chicago Blackhawks for future considerations. That's cool. He gets to play with his bro. Let's see. Then there was the trade at 11:37 between Philadelphia and Boston. I was in the gym when that one happened, so I didn't see it initially. Alexis Gendron and Massimo Rizzo, who was a Hurricanes draft pick, for Brett Harrison, Jackson Edwards, and future considerations. So that's all. That's mostly a prospect move there. Bobby Brink for David Jiricek, 1-for-1. That was between Minnesota and Philadelphia. Jiricek going to the Flyers and Bobby Brink going to Minnesota. Then, of course, we had the one at 1:22 in the morning between John Carlson and where John Carlson went to Anaheim for a conditional 2026 first-round pick and a 2027 third-round pick. Before that, you had Luke Schenn and Logan Stanley to the Buffalo Sabres from the Winnipeg Jets in exchange for Jacob Bryson, Isaac Rosen, 2027 second-rounder and 2026 fourth-rounder. I mean, I've seen some discourse around that makes Buffalo worse, but at the same time, it's like they wanted to add some size to their defense, so they accomplished that even if it's a net negative in other ways. Sam Carrick went to the Buffalo Sabres for a third and a sixth-round 2026 pick from the Rangers. That's about par for the course for that. Connor Garland went to Columbus at 12:20 a.m. for a 2028 second and a 2026 third. David Perron went from the Senators back to the Red Wings for a conditional 2026 fourth rounder. Vogel went to Ottawa along with a conditional 2026 third round pick. Our good friend Warren Vogel, 2026 second round pick, conditional 2026 third round pick going to the Kings in exchange for that. Michael Bunting has been traded for the millionth time, third round pick, going the other way to Nashville for this year. And then a lot of the other ones aren't super relevant. Jeff Petrie went to Minnesota. That kind of helps out with their defensive depth. Nicolas Waugh, another former Hurricane, was traded to Colorado for a conditional 2027 first rounder and a conditional 2026 fifth rounder. See, I don't understand why we can't get KK out of here for some sort of return like that. Jason, I'm not big on Laine. He's kind of just a lot of it was injuries derailing him and other stuff, but yeah, he can shoot a puck, but like, see, when it comes to a player's defensive capabilities and the Hurricanes, if they're lacking in the technical aspects of the defense, that's one thing. You know, Jack Roslovic, when he played for Carolina, and you saw him, I believe you're a Rangers fan, if I remember correctly. Jack Roslovic, as you saw, his defensive efforts or his defensive capability wasn't lacking for a lack of effort. It's just he would get to where he was going because he's very fast. He just didn't always know what to do once he got there. And when it comes to Laine, I don't see the effort level really required to do that. So that's why I wouldn't be big on Carolina getting him. If they did, it definitely helps in the goal scoring department because that's what he does. I just wouldn't know if it would be worth it from Carolina's perspective to pursue something like that. We officially have 60 minutes. Yeah, Delorier is not a bad pickup, but I just hope that's not the only one. There's got to be more than this. Let me see if AB wants to jump on here with me. Got him in case Carrier goes down. Yeah, and that's always a possibility with William Carrier, unfortunately, even though I've been very happy with him being in the lineup. Yeah, McMahon would be a good fit on the Stahl line. He really would. I agree, Wizard. I think he would be good there. You know, McMahon, it's like, I know he was with Matthews a lot this season, but like, even if you put him with Jarvis and Aho, throw them on the left wing, and then you could have another line of Stankov and Ehlers and Svechnikov. I wouldn't hate that either, because then you distribute the size and the scoring a little bit more throughout the top six. That wouldn't hurt. Trocheck's not been moved yet, so oh wait, that's right. The clock on my computer's wrong. It's actually 2:06, so we have 54 minutes. Yeah, but if KK is going to be the 14th forward, might as well just get him out of here for whatever you can. Let's just be done with it and clear that cap, because Stankoven and Blake both have extensions kicking in next season, and you got to get Nikishin signed. Should he still be here in 53 minutes, which I'm expecting. Hey, Frank. Hurricanes got Nick Delorier. What do you think about that, bud? You excited? You just can't contain yourself, can you? Let's see, anything else here? No, not yet. All right, let's keep doing the fully automatic refresh here. I mean, conditional 7th for him. I mean, that's actually a good deal. I don't think it's enough. Let me see if they've updated this yet with Timothy Liljegren is going from the San Jose Sharks to the Washington Capitals. And it says future considerations for the Flyers as far as their return for Nick Delorier. So waiting to see what the return is for San Jose and Washington in regards to Timothy Liljegren getting traded. That makes sense for them, though. They wanted to shore up the defense with Carlson out, and I guess they're going to call Cole Hudson up, or at least that gives them a path up in the future for them. Shen to New York. Braden Shen to New York. Yeah, we're getting some movement now. This last hour might be eventful. No, I'm good with getting Delorier for that. That's a low cost acquisition. I'm good with that. I want a little bit more out of today, but that helps. That does help. It's not a groundbreaking move by any means, but I'm not upset about it, not one bit. Let's see. Let's hit the refresh page, see if anything else popped up here. Nope. Latest trade is still the Timothy Liljegren one on TSN's trade tracker. Well, Haggerty, I only want him out of here for his own good. Like I said, I don't like how he's been deployed and everything. So, but yeah, no, Delorier is a good move, but it cannot be the only one. It really can't. There's got to be something else here. Trocheck's still in play. I mean, we might have used up all of the graces of. Apparently, Emily Kaplan just said Carolina is pushing for Trocheck. If Carolina gets Trocheck, that puts the cup run back on, if you ask me. It really does. Trocheck won't be traded because Chris Drury is a moron. Yeah, that's true. I don't know who's worse about overvaluing their players, him or Armstrong, especially if they considering the position and the standings both those teams are in. And the outlook for the future is a lot more bleak for the Rangers than it is for the Blues. A lot more. The Blues will be good again in a few years. They've got a good prospect pool, but like it's not going to be immediate. If they trade Robert Thomas, they're looking at being a decent wild card 1 or 3rd in their division team in 3, maybe 4 seasons. Yeah, Dylan, that's a good point. If they get both Vinny Trocheck and Nick Delorier, and you got half of that equation already, clearly not wanting to get pushed around anymore in the playoffs. Yeah, that would be awesome. And then Trocheck, one of the other things in addition to him, getting into stuff after the whistle and mixing it up and everything like that, Trocheck also brings a ton of clean entries, because that's one of the things. The first time that he was in Carolina that I noticed was how good he was at generating entries. So, and that wouldn't hurt, especially since the team is scoring more now, and you add one more piece who's really good at generating entries and dishing the puck at the right time right after crossing the offensive blue line. Like, that's someone you could grab and really, really help. See, I've been good. I'm drinking this out of the same one that I had yesterday, so I've gotten really good about not overdoing it on these, but needed a little bit to get through this. I had quite the workout. It's better than the one I had yesterday. What do you think, Frank? You rodent. Canes going to do anything else, bud? You're a good boy. If the Canes get Vincent Trocheck or someone even better, I will give you a very large treat. How's that sound? Treat? Yeah, you're just mad today, aren't you? It's nice out. We'll go out soon, I promise. Gunner says Rangers have to do the full rebuild, no question, but they won't, which means long-suffering Rangers fans for a while. That is true. Don't get the four fellas hopes up. Yeah. Chevy, what's up, dude? Drury doesn't want to get fleeced like he did on the Miller trade. Yeah, Carolina might made him a little bit reluctant to do business after that. But the thing about it is, though, it's like, I don't know how they managed to gas up Morrow as much as they did, because like I said, I gave up on him in one shift. I was like, nah, this ain't it. And, I got absolutely roasted for my opinion on that. Lo and behold, he got traded and he's got 6 points. And his defense has not gotten any better. It never will. Matthew says also Doug Armstrong is an idiot because St. Louis is bad, but they keep Thomas for no good reason. Yeah, they're going to prolong their rebuild by keeping him. If Carolina was in this position, say they hadn't turned the corner by 2020 or 2021ish, I would have totally been open to trading Aho at that point, because you kind of have to. Yeah, this is a good time to be bad. The next 3 drafts are really good. They really are. Especially like this year's going to be good. Next season's going to be an incredibly good draft. That's part of the reason when I made my trade proposal for Robert Thomas that pissed off so many people. I was like, yo, a 2027 first is really valuable, even if it's, a little bit late. But let's see, anything else? Not yet. I've got so many windows open right now. I keep refreshing the main timeline and Elliot Friedman's page in particular. So 9 minutes ago, let's see. Philadelphia claims Glendening. Vancouver claims Douglas. Florida claims Reinhart. Not Sam Griffin. I'd imagine that is. Momentum is built for New York Islanders and St. Louis to complete the Braden Shin trade. We knew about that one already. Nick Delorier to Carolina. Let me share that. Delorier is a physical winger. Yeah, he'll fight too. So it's like He's definitely a team first guy. Like I'm not upset about that pickup at all. I'm really not. I wouldn't be surprised if he drops the mitts the first game he's in the lineup just to be like, hey, I'm here. Kinda, yeah. Kind of already did Delorier with Brendan Lemieux. Yeah, that did kind of already happen. So Wizard, the funny thing about that, and I know that I've talked about it before, I kind of called Teravainen coming back to Carolina at some point. I wouldn't do it for a first, that's for sure. But like you already know that works. You can put him back with Aho and then put Svechnikov on there, right? And then you can make a line of Ehlers, Jarvis, and Stankoven. Maybe it'd be a little bit on the smaller side, but you can mitigate a lot of stuff that would happen to that line with Nick Delorier just being present. I just don't know if it's enough to win. I really don't. I mean, I personally don't think it is, but they might go to the playoffs and surprise me and everybody else. So I am curious to see if Teravainen gets moved, though, because I believe he's got 2 years left. No, he's in year 2 of 3. So, yeah, he's got this season and next season. That's it. So he'd be a UFA again in Carolina next year. $5.4 million cap hit. That should be totally doable for Carolina because they've got so much cap space. Yeah, the irony of if they shipped KK out and the irony of if they shipped KK out to bring Teravainen back, that would be something. Pitt got someone from Detroit, or they're making room for Vinny. They very well could. Let's see who it was. I haven't seen that one pop up yet. Elmer Soderblom from Detroit to Pittsburgh for a 2026 third rounder. So let's see what his cap hit is because I don't know it off the top of my head. $1.125. So I mean, that does make some room, especially let's see. And Trocheck is 5.625, so that would clear about a fifth of his cap space. And then you look at, let's see what Detroit's got for cap. Projection of 12 now. So, I mean, they've got room for him. They most certainly have room for him. If the Canes don't do anything big, I wonder why they haven't acquired draft picks to retain on deals like Mangiapane. Imagine if Carolina got another first like Chicago did from Edmonton. Yeah, I could see that potentially happening. I don't think it will, but Wizard says, I do wonder if AG had some insider info about what we were going to do at this deadline, and that's why he made that tweet. Yeah, I think he did. I mean, I just hope that wasn't the mentality that everything is fine and you just insulate what you already have. Shin to the Islanders. Yeah, I saw that one. According to the Hockey Insider, the Canes have made a significant offer to the New York Rangers for Vincent Trocheck. They are now the front runners, I'm being told. Where'd you see that at? I want to see that. Let me check the group chat here. Don't trust that account, Dylan. Do not trust that account. That account's trash. It makes sense why Carolina would do that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it happened. Soderblom, Detroit to Pitt. Yeah, knew about that one. Let's see how much time we got. 40 minutes. I need to get a little stopwatch or a little pocket watch and just hold it up and do that. TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. Reese says Carolina couldn't go one season without having a player who looks like a Viking. Yeah, Nick Delorier does look like a Viking. Like, dude legitimately looks like a Viking. And then, fun fact here, a little trivia for y'all. If you didn't know it, Brent Burns was actually in an episode of History Channel's Vikings. He fit that role very well. I'm sure pretty much everyone in here already knew that. Come on, Tulsky. I believe in you, bud. Come on. Plus, that NHL Insider account didn't spell Trocheck's name right either. Emily Kaplan, I saw that she said that they're pushing heavy for him, so that's much more reputable than that other guy that posted that. Emily Kaplan's actually really worked her way up the ranks of Insider and breaking news and everything like that. I actually really like her. So Greg Wyshynski, I can't stand, but Kaplan's all right. All righty. Let's keep on keeping on here. They said they were surprised that the Devils haven't sold anyone yet. Yeah, I when they started shopping Nimick, I was like, they're gonna do something before it's over. So but yeah, the Delorier move is good. Didn't give up much to get him. So that helps. He's got to be in the lineup. Absolutely. If you bring him in, he's got to be in the lineup. And by the way, if there is a significant trade, feel free to tag me in it on X like immediately. Wizard says Pagnotta announced McMahon was traded like half an hour ago, and there's still no actual trade. Yeah, and he did the same damn thing with Mason Marchment coming to Carolina. I believe it was him. That was disappointing because I like Marchman. I really wanted him to come to Carolina. That's another guy I wouldn't be upset about them picking up. But I mean, they already got Delorier, so they're not going to do that now. One of my concerns, Reese says, with Carolina holding on to as many assets as they do is that the prospects will eventually degrade in value. We saw it happen with Artemonov in Russia. Yeah, and then the other thing with Artemonov, it's like his development track got messed up there because, like I read something about it. I think he didn't get along with the coach. Ugg would know that more than me because she's plugged in on the Russian stuff, so I could ask her about it. Ethan Reed says, I need to see what the Isles paid for Shin. Definitely not the best option, but if the Canes could have competed, they are either cooking something better or there is total disconnect between the front office and the fans on the team structure. Yeah, and at the end of the day, the front office is the ones who need to be competent. They definitely shouldn't really listen to the fans, but it's like the damn 482 people in here. Wow. Yeah, Shin to the Islanders. Yeah, we saw that one. Let me refresh the trade tracker. There's probably been a couple more. No, not yet. All right, I'm going to grab a water. Give me 1 second, boys. Who's a good doggy? Good doggy. There. Okay. Anything? Nope, doesn't look like it. Matthew Joseph, whose contract with St. Louis was terminated today, signs with LA for a 1 year at a prorated $900,000. Played for DJ Smith in Ottawa. It makes sense why he'd want him. Return for Shin appears to be a first, third, and a prospect, according to Darren Drager. So we'll see what that ultimately entails, if there's anything like condition to those picks. Yeah, I saw that, Reese. Thank you. I think that there will be more movement this summer than there really was last summer. There was a decent amount, but not a ton. I wouldn't have given up a damn first for Braden Shin. Ooh. And when I see stuff like that, it makes me worry. Like that keeps the price on Trocheck jacked up. Matthew says our offer for Trocheck should be Serrato Dallas's 2028 first and a third. If Drury would take that, like he would be stupid not to. But Shin getting a first definitely guarantees you have to give a first up, at least one, to get Trocheck. The market's staying high and Drury's exploiting that. So if he's still got him at the end of the day, though, he's an idiot. I know Rangers fans would agree, but Blackhawks have traded forward Aiden Thompson to the New York Rangers for defenseman Derek Pouliot, so that's just a regular old 1-for-1 move. Yeah. Waiting to see what the rest is going on here. Reese says prices are sky high for real. Carolina picked a bad deadline to punt their assets too. Wizard says, bro, I wouldn't even trade Serrato for him. He could potentially be the future down the middle with Rapkin. I'd offer a first and Fields, Singer, Sorman, call it. I don't think that would get it done though, especially not with what Shen just went for, because now the market's still staying high. Ethan Reed says, if that is true, that is an overpay for Shen, but spent years adding assets for a reason. Trocheck only loses value this summer. Drury would be insane to hold out of spite, but it's Chris Drury we're talking about here. I agree. Matthew says, bring Benny Holmes, just not for Nadeau. Yeah, there's nothing out there short of Robert Thomas that I'm willing to part with Nadeau for. Not even, and I know I've been talking about Dylan Strome a lot today, but I wouldn't part with Nadeau for him, especially not in the same division with a team who could have a competitive window overlap with Carolina and a team that I don't want to see be good again for a long, long time, because y'all know I don't like them. So let's see. Anything else? 28 minutes. Sam, what's up, dude? Good to see you, buddy. Sam, I'm going to send you a link. I saw your text. Okay. All right. Our good friend, Sam Wallace, will be joining us here in just a moment, and which is cool because him and I haven't got to do a stream together in a while. I'm looking forward to that. He's a good friend of mine. Very good guy. Sam, the link's in your email. Okay. Yeah, no, Delorier can throw. Like I saw y'all shared that there. He can throw. All right, let's get Sam in here when he gets on. All right, let's see what else we got here. Oh, he's having a hard time getting his camera to connect. We'll look at some other stuff. Skylark says, I hate to say it, but if there was a blockbuster cooking, I think we would have announced it by now. Sam.
What's up?
Good to see you, buddy. We haven't got to do this in a while.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, it's been a somewhat eventful but completely uneventful day at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you looked around the league, it's been a little bit eventful. I mean, Braden Shin just got traded.
See, the thing that worries me about Shin getting traded, though, that kept the price for Trocheck through the roof.
What was it? A first round, a first, a second,
a first, a third, and a pick. I believe a first, a third, and a prospect. I believe it was. Yeah, to be decided prospect, to be decided first rounder, to be decided third rounder for Shin. Let's see. We got a couple more comments here. Let's see. Room temperature water says, "Call me crazy, but I'm really happy with getting Delorier." I'm happy about it too. I think the team really needed that. 50% of what this fan base has been complaining about is the lack of physicality, and now we can boot Jankowski out for KK at 4C. Yeah, that does help. Some guy named Samuel Wallace came in here and said hi.
Yeah, I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah, I don't either. He sounds like a horrible person to me. But yeah, now we got some physicality. Dylan says, "How long after the deadline do we find out about Stank and Jankowski?" I want to say it was in the central registry at like 2:50, if I remember correctly, and we found out about it about 10 minutes after 3 last year. I want to say when it came to Stankoven and Jankowski.
It might have been.
I can't remember. It seems like that's been a lot longer than a year.
So I thought, I'm trying to. It's a bit hard to remember because it did happen a year ago, but I think I remember like going to bed the previous night. I think was when we knew Rantanen was going to Dallas. It's just the holdup was he
was negotiating the contract. Yeah, and that's
Carolina wanted to do more stuff.
Yeah, they wanted to flip those more. Yeah, they wanted to flip all that and do something else, but like Rantanen just absolutely screwed us. That's one of the reasons why it's like the more I look back on that trade, the more I get pissed off about him. People are like, "Oh, you shouldn't hold anything against him." I'm like, well, there's two reasons I hold him against him. One, the aforementioned inability to flip things because of how long he took negotiating his contract until the last minute. And two, I just don't understand the concept of taking a $16 million pay cut for a woman. Maybe I'm old school, but I wouldn't do that.
And also, I think even before Rantanen got traded here, I think there were a couple of reports of Rantanen actually saying he wouldn't mind coming to Carolina. So
I do remember that. That's the weird thing about it. It's like I'm wondering if something changed once he got there.
That's what ticked me off a bit.
J-Rex says, "Hi, Sam.
What's up?"
Jankowski was around 30 minutes past 3, if I remember correctly, Dylan, and this team has never been the same since." Ethan says, "Brandon, you may know more than me, but isn't there a clause in effect with the AHL players and call-ups after the deadline? I saw something about players on AHL rosters post-deadline can be recalled and sent down for Stanley Cup and Calder Cup runs. Black Aces of sorts. Could that at least mean Nadeau comes up?" Yeah, Nadeau would be one of those guys, but without a doubt. He's probably your number one at this point.
Isn't that when the NHL season ends, though? Or is that after the deadline?
That is after the deadline, I believe, that you can do the unlimited up and down.
All right.
Because before that, you're limited to the 4 emergency recalls or whatever it is and all that type of stuff, which I think that they should give the teams a little bit more flexibility with stuff like that. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now there is that change, though, of salary cap in the playoffs now. So
yeah, that's another reason I wanted them to go in, because they don't have to worry about going up against Tampa with Kucherov coming back after being on LTIR, or making it to the finals and going against Vegas with way above the cap with Mark Stone coming back. Like, you didn't have to worry about that this time, and that's why I was hoping. I'm like, just go in. Let's get something you need here. But let's see, 563 people. Damn, good to see y'all. Sean Riley says, "I would like to see what Morgan Frost would do in Carolina. He could be a good fit, I think."
He might be. I liked your idea. I think you tweeted about this earlier, Brandon, about trying to get Dylan Strome.
Yeah, I'd go out of my way to try and get Dylan Strome. I've always liked Dylan Strome. Like, when Chicago didn't qualify him, I was like, how? Like, you let this dude walk to free agency, and
Chicago blew everything up. They literally did.
Yeah.
They wanted, I remember when Kirby Dach got traded.
That was who I was going to mention. They totally botched Kirby Dach. I mean, he's hurt all the time now anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Which is unfortunate, because he's a good player.
But apparently, I think I heard somewhere Emily Copland said that we're going
pushing
hard
on Trocheck. Yeah, so I mean, if they're pushing hard and they like give Drury an offer like, "Hey, here you go, take it or leave it," and maybe at 259 he takes it. Reese says pending no big moves. It's basically 2 straight seasons of the Hurricanes, essentially waiting until next season to go in. We might say this again next year too. Yeah, I want them to go in right now. I really do. Trocheck at least. I wanted more than Trocheck, as you know, but I know Robert Thomas was a very lofty objective, but I think that does it for this team, not only this season, but for the next 4 after.
Oh, yes, definitely. And I've always envisioned, let's say if we do get a second line center, like I've said this many times before, imagine the third scoring line being Taylor Hall, Logan Stankoven, and Eric Robinson.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for with
Love
like KK Hall and Robinson working out for a line, but unfortunately that didn't.
Yeah. Can you hold up real quick? I'll be right back real quick.
Yep, I got you, buddy. But yeah, I'll take him off the screen for a second, then I'll add him back in when he gets here. His phone was ringing, I think. That's what I thought I heard over the headphones. Chad LaRose for a 7th Let's Go, says Ray Whitney's Ghost. It worked last time that Chad LaRose was in town. They did win a cup with him. Matthew says they owe it to the group to get Vinny. Yeah, I agree, especially like the 2 players the team is built around. One of them's already on the wrong side of 30, and the other one is well on his way. So, like, if you're going to do it, now's a really good time to do it. It's like, so this is actually very, very thought-provoking, and I'll also answer this real quick. Tulski, I think, does have a press conference scheduled. They tested the stream for 3, and I'll try and pull that up here. So there's this little thing in aviation, which if you haven't heard, I like that a little bit, called the Swiss cheese model. It is when you have a bunch of particular things, holes, if you will, that are elements of something going horribly wrong and there being a catastrophic mishap because of it. These things don't always line up, and that's why you avoid the mishaps and the catastrophic situations and everything like that. In the case of the Hurricanes and their Swiss cheese model, the holes are not far from lining up. It's within the next couple of years, if you ask me. It's within the next couple of years that you ask me that all these holes line up, because you got a couple of big things coming up here. It's like, you have to wonder, Stahl and Martinook's contracts are up after next season. And, it's like, you have to make a decision. Do you bring those guys back for another year? I'm going to already tell you, and my position on this will probably not change by then. No. Do not bring them back at some point or not. Aho's been groomed to be the captain of this team since the 3rd year he was in the league. They sat him next to Justin Williams in the locker room. Dundon basically said the team was his after 22-23, and then they brought Stahl back for 4 years. So that prolonged, I think, that next step that was kind of inevitable that maybe they were going to take. That's not anything against Jordo. I just personally think that you can't do that again. So you have to think about bringing those guys back, or do you want to take the risk of having the average age of the team higher just to bring them back for 1 year, hopefully at the most? I would say no personally, but it also depends on what the organization decides and what Rod asks for, that they ultimately give him what he wants.
Also, another thing too, like you look at the center core, like I would think if you're trying to address a position that's now and for the future, then that could be done with this Trocheck trade, or maybe they circle to Robert Thomas, whoever. But to me, I see that as the position that you're serving both present and future.
Yeah, that either way. Well, Strome would have done that too, because see, Strome would only be 31 when his contract expires, and that's someone with the type of skill set you can extend him, put him down in the lineup a little bit later, because like one of the best parts about Nikolai Ehlers is that later on, you can drop him into a stall line type of role, and he's good enough defensively to where he'll still be a big factor. Plus, he's ahead of the curve when it comes to speed. When he does get older and slow down, he's still going to be faster than 85% of the forwards in the league because of how fast he is now. So unless it's just like a horrible, horrible fall off, which I don't see that happening with him.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't see anything else on the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm still looking, but yeah, they do need to address that, though. That's why when I was seeing stuff about, like, I like I was talking about at the beginning of the show, I like Adam Gold, but like when he said no, it's somewhere between the 12th and 14th forward and the 7th or 8th defenseman, I'm like, no, that is not the way that this should be looked at. Like, everybody knows that this is the top 6 is a glaring need, and it has been for years.
Well, so when he said that, I viewed that as more as like, if you do get it, that's fine. But I mean, I've listened to Adam's episodes before. I think he makes it clear that yes, they need an upgrade at center, and I kind of view the Nick Delorier trade as exactly that. It's basically insurance. He's an extra forward just in case someone goes down. I don't mind those type of trades. In fact, I like those type of trades.
Yeah, I do too. I'm good
But
with this one. It can't be the only thing today, though. That's the problem.
Exactly. I don't mind the depth trades as long as you try to fix a problem that you're probably having right now and you'll probably have in the future when Stahl retires. I mean, KK, we know how that's going. I mean, I know they tried to a little bit fix it with putting Stanko in that center, but he's not there yet. He's not a top 6 centerman.
And that's why I like what you were saying about putting him with Holland Robinson. Give him a chance to develop that skill set. And I was talking about this when I did my show yesterday. So it's like if you put him in an environment like that where he's with Holland Robinson, he has a little bit better matchups. There's one of two outcomes. One, he continues to develop that skill set. You have another person who can play center in a team that has historically been kind of thin at that position in the last few seasons.
They have.
So it can't hurt you to add another one, even if it's an internal hire, because the best player on the team's a damn internal hire. So, or the best center on the team is an internal hire with Aho. So there's that. And then additionally, if it doesn't work out, you just slide him back to the wing. It's not like Kotkaniemi. Kotkaniemi doesn't work on the wing. Stankoven, we've already seen him play on the wing. We know he can adapt back to that pretty seamlessly. The couple of games he was on the wing this season, I thought he looked pretty good. So,
yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, so we are down to 13 minutes. And, you know, the trade just has to be in the central registry by 3. It doesn't, if it's not announced by 3, that's no problem. As long as it's in the central registry by then, but we have yet to see otherwise. So,
and another thing too, like especially this year specifically, I mean, I would say like this is a year where you really need to bounce on this opportunity. One, Florida, they're out of the playoffs. They ain't making it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more wide open.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the only team that scares me is Tampa because they have the goalie.
If they get Trocheck, though, if Carolina does, I worry about that significantly less. It's still going to be tough to beat them. And then the other thing is if you get a guy like Trocheck, you're building a team that when Florida is back in contention next season, and it will be next season that they're back into it, they're probably going to get a top 5 pick, which might be good enough to help them as soon as next season, in addition to what they already have. Their core is signed. They made the most of their deadline last season. And that's why I'm saying it's like they built the best third line in recent NHL history with Lusterine and Lundell and Marchand. So that's what I'm saying is that, like, you can go ahead and get a piece now. And, you know, there was a good point made in here. Let me find it. Here it is right here with Ethan. He posts some really good stuff in here. Trocheck will lose offense with age, but he will most certainly maintain his face-off and defensive IQ. Trocheck 3C when Jordo leaves. Why aren't Wyatt and Carolina just pulling the trigger? You solve 2 problems immediately if you get him.
Yep. Yes, you do. I completely agree with that. It's just like, and I understand, like, the prices for centers these days are very, very high. But to me, it's almost like beating a dead horse. Like, we talk about prices so much for centers, but are you willing to do it? Yes or no?
Well,
and that says more about this team.
Yeah.
Right there, and is that choice.
Wait, why is this? Hold up, my stuff's freezing. Stand by. Why is this thing freezing?
I can still hear you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. There we go. All right. Ghost of Don Waddell says Pagnota just said we are out on Trocheck, so that means that we're probably still in on him. I mean, it's Pagnota. I mean, so that means Trocheck's coming to Carolina.
Where did he? I don't see him tweeting that.
I don't either. Not yet. Might have been on. He's probably doing something on NHL Network, maybe.
That or I know Daily Faceoff is live.
Yeah. Let's see.
With Frank Saravelli.
And another good point here that Matthew makes. Vinny bridges the gap to Ryabkin. I don't know if Ryabkin's the future 1C. It's a little bit early to say that, but Vinny does bridge that gap. TWT, I'm not big on prospect timelines. When do you estimate Serrato will be AHL or NHL ready? I imagine he is going to sign this season, his ELC. I think he'll do that over the summer, pending on how, as long as everything goes good at the prospect camp and everything like that. I fully expect him to be at training camp, and then he would go to the AHL probably after that. I expect him to sign his ELC and turn pro. I think that's what will happen. From there, you have a 2 to 3 year timeline after that. So now we also have to consider he's a double overager. So the sooner he can get there, the better. The one upside of him being a double overager, he's going to be matured into his full body, or at least closer to it, than a lot of other guys that are at the point of his development that he's at in the NCAA. So that's good there.
Yep, that is good. And here's the thing. These prospects, they could be very, very good. But I do think you have to put into the consideration of the fact that Carolina is not in waiting mode anymore for players. They are trying to go for a Stanley Cup. So if it might take a Serrato or Ryabkin to get, let's say, a Robert Thomas or maybe a Trocheck, I think you do, just because you're recognizing the present. So
I'm seeing Johnny Lazarus said we were out on Trocheck. He's a lot more reputable.
Okay.
Well, that's probably that then. Great. We like our group.
All right. I mean, that just says something about this team right here.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge disappointment, because it's like, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I'm very confident that you would agree with what I said about this. I used the poker analogy, which is a game I cannot play. My dad is good at it, but I could never do it. I'm too much raw emotion. I like, when I'm pissed off about something, you can see it like written all over my face. I might as well be wearing a t-shirt saying I hate it here. And if you always hold them, eventually you'll only fold them. At some point or another, you have to risk it and push the chips in, because every year that you don't, Aho is getting older, Slavin is getting older, and the uncertainty with the future is growing. And if it wasn't for those two guys, in addition to, Rod, Justin Williams, Dundon, there's many people to thank there. This team's probably in Houston or Quebec City. At what point are their needs taken into consideration? It doesn't seem like that they are. Aho's got to be one of the most dissatisfied people in the NHL right now, because Gensel got, left, and then Ehlers is playing with Stahl and Martinook.
Yep. And I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I cannot criticize Ehlers playing on Stahl's line at all. Really cannot. He got a hat trick the last game. I can't criticize it. He's doing pretty good in terms of the eye test. But my preference has always been play skilled guys with skilled guys, basically. So I prefer Ehlers playing on the line, probably with the likes of Stankoven and Blake. In fact, we've seen that line before, Brandon. You and I know that, and they have dominated games.
Mm-hmm. And see, that's the other thing that I worry about with it is like, and I talked about this a lot yesterday too. I don't see a lot of the stuff that is going well right now translating to the playoffs when you're playing against good teams over and over again, and there's not a whole lot of big scoring gaps or big gaps between scores and everything like that. Like, for example, Ehlers has had 2 hat tricks. One of them was against the 2026 Vancouver Canucks, of which he scored one of those goals on the empty netter. And Svechnikov scared the hell out of me when he had that puck before he passed it to him, because I thought it was going to be Florida all over again. And speaking of Florida, Ehlers' other hat trick was in that 9-1 win against Florida. Yep. I don't think that line is going to translate in the playoffs. I hope I'm wrong, but like, it just seems like we're on this feedback loop. We put in slightly different inputs and get very similar results.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed the nail on the head right there. Like, I mean, Stankoven, Blake, and Ehlers. I mean, if you look at the skill on that line, it's great. It's wonderful. but a huge part of the playoffs that I think the Canes are honestly probably ignoring almost at this point, with it being 5 minutes before the trade deadline, is size. Like, these are small guys all playing on the same line. Like, you're gonna have to put like probably Walker and sorry, not Walker, Slavin and Miller maybe on the same pair just to help them. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like you
And then
have
you're
to have
losing
that size.
and then you're losing size in other parts of the lineup if you do something like that.
Exactly.
See, that's why I was okay with picking up Bobby McMahon, because then I was going to be like, all right, put McMahon with Jarvis and Aho. And then anyone's like, oh, that's not going to work. I'm like, Nino Niederreiter worked with Aho and Teravainen when they had him up there with them. Michael Furland worked with Aho and Teravainen just fine. So it's like you put Bobby McMahon with Aho and Jarvis, and then you can have Ehlers, Stankoven, and Svechnikov for another line, for example. Like if you have to go that route, if you can't get another center and Stankoven has to stay in that role, like there's options there, even if you get someone like that.
Yep, exactly. So we are out on Vincent Trocheck. I do see that from Johnny Lazarus, and I'm just thinking here. I mean, to me, the only guy they might circle back on may be Robert Thomas, but if they're not going to pay for Trocheck, they're probably not.
They're not paying for Thomas. No. Bull Moose, yeah,
Ristolainen is staying put. Flyers had a price and stuck to it. Pierre LeBrun.
Yeah, I don't think that KK can go back there at this point. I think I think that ship has unfortunately sailed. Especially after, like, there was a 2-game stretch where Stankoven was back on the wing and KK played with Ehlers and I think it was Ehlers and Svechnikov, or who was it? KK played center for a couple of games in the top 6, and he did really good, and then Rod scratched him again. Like, there was one game he had a 78% face-off win rate. Let's see. Yeah, the Hurricanes are not a serious organization. I agree. I'm starting to, like, I got to do some research on it, but like there was a video I watched, I shared it, I don't know if you saw it, about like how the private equity is kind of driving teams to like just perpetually be really good but not good enough to win, so that they can just keep generating playoff revenue over and over again. I'm kind of starting to wonder if that's what's going on with the Canes. Like it's getting a little bit weird how they just will never go in on something when they really, really need to. I would have gladly not done the Rantanen trade last season when it was supposed to be a retool year, or done the, anything like that if it meant, being able to go all in this year. Like this is just weird to me.
Yeah, it is a bit weird, kind of like what you said. Like last year was supposed to be a retool year, and we went in for Rantanen. I do think part of it too, of us going for Rantanen, is whenever you get a new GM, he always likes to make his staple.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that was that Rantanen trade, and he was like, "Oh no, we messed up. We got to trade Rantanen to get assets."
And I gave him a lot of credit for just getting something like that out of the way early, because it gave him a chance. Yeah, we all did. We were just kind of like, all right, he learned a hard lesson early. You get it out of the way early. The old saying, if you're going to F up, get it out of the way in the beginning. He did that. He's been given a ton of runway ever since. Rod's been given runway for going on 8 years now. But like, I can't even, regardless of whatever bad game management decision Rod makes in the future, I can't be mad at him this time around. Like, what else is he supposed to do with what he's got?
Yep. Well, what is it? 3 p.m. basically right now. So
yeah, it's it is 3 Yep, that's
and every Stanley Cup contender made a move except for us, basically.
A lot of that came into the East.
Yes, it did.
This isn't good.
Panthers are currently focused on trying to re-sign Sergei Bobrovsky. I mean,
He was never going to
ultimately,
leave.
no. I mean, he here's the thing. I'm not surprised with Canes not hardly doing anything this trade deadline, but this just reinforces just kind of what I think they feel about centermen. They do not value them, and they're not willing to pay the price. They're just not.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like, yeah, it's just I was talking about it yesterday too, and I do want to know your thoughts on this. I think Carolina's in for a tougher first round matchup than they've had the last few years because you're looking at them playing someone like Detroit, Buffalo, Montreal, or if they were to fall off really bad, but they're still going to make it because they've stacked enough points to do so, maybe the Islanders, but particularly Buffalo, Montreal, and Detroit. And in that order, those three teams, I think, are going to be much more difficult to beat in the first round than who Carolina has played in the first round in the past.
Yeah. Hold up real quick. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, buddy. Look, I want them to lose in the first round as a wake-up call. They might need to. But yeah, and HR5 up, I'm fully convinced it's going to be some sort of ridiculous asking price that they had that we're going to find out about later that we will be glad that Carolina didn't pay. So it's maybe this team needs to get first rounded. Maybe that'll wake them up. The building being halfway empty in the second period of game 2 versus Florida should have woke them up. And Rod said the stuff he said the other day about, other teams are pushing to get stuff done. It's pretty clear what he's asking for at that point. Let me see if the Canes are live yet. No. Nope, not live yet. Bobby McMahon to Seattle. That was someone who could have helped. Red Wings got Falk, so that's another piece for them. Adding offense from the blue line. Well, see, Wizard, the reason why I think that, though, it's like I could see Carolina and Buffalo being a lot like Carolina and Washington in 2019, where Buffalo, I mean, granted, Carolina's got much more of a go-to-war mentality and don't take anybody lightly than Washington did back then. But, as far as the potential for the shoe to be on the other foot there is pretty high. Pretty high. Jeremy's point of view. What's up, buddy? Haven't seen you in a while. Just wish Carolina secured a goalie to back Bussy up. Yeah, that would have helped. And see, the other thing I'm worried about, I'm terrified that Rod's going to start Friday in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. I would not be surprised at all about that. But apparently, I think I heard earlier about them saying, oh, Carolina's not concerned about their goalie situation. And I'm just like, okay.
All right. Well, I hope that means Bussy is starting unless he falls off a cliff between now and the end of the season. And then, the other thing about it is schedule-wise, at least not necessarily opponent-wise, but schedule-wise, this month is going to be harder than the playoffs. Because this month sucks.
Oh, it does.
The schedule is awful for Carolina this month. I'm glad they stacked points when they did. Otherwise, if they hadn't managed to stack points when they did, and the majority of those are because of Bussy, make no mistake, otherwise this team's probably in wild card 1 or maybe Metro 3. And then there's a ton of trap games in April.
Yep.
That cannot be it. It's probably it, though.
Justin Falk goes to Bobby McMahon to Seattle.
Yep. Bobby McMahon to Seattle, Justin Falk to
Detroit. All righty.
I know one thing. I did not expect a trade deadline from Carolina this. Well, not expect. I totally expected it. The whole thing about it is, though, it's like I was hoping for a more active trade deadline this season than what we got last season.
Yeah. Well, I think a part of it too, and because someone pointed this out, and I think this has a lot of truth to it. Going forward in the NHL, are GMs going to be more? Are they going to be as willing as they are right now of giving no movement and no trade clauses out to players?
If the cap goes up enough, no. Because one of the things that you do to drive someone's salary down, their cap hit down, is to give them a no trade clause.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So as the cap goes up enough, they're going to be like, hey, here's some more money, but we're not giving you a clause. So, but that's how Carolina has managed to keep under the cap so much, is they hand them out like candy. So it's like Chatfield has one, Walker has players who used to get no trade clauses. Those were like your very, very, very best ones. That was it. Nowadays, it's like you can be a bottom pair defenseman and get one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not just Carolina. Every team's doing it to multiple players. And we saw a prime example with that with Colton Parayko. He was like, no, I don't want to go to Buffalo. Which I will admit, I'm a little bit surprised he didn't want to go to Buffalo, considering how good they're doing.
Yeah, and see, like when the stuff was coming about Thomas going there because he's only from a place in Ontario that's only 2 hours away, I was like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, at least they did something with Deloria. I just don't.
Ryan Strome, from Anaheim to Calgary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not a big deal either.
Justin Hall going to St. Louis. So Bobby McMahon to Seattle for a second, 2027, and a fourth in 2026. So Seattle did more than us. Ron Francis. Look at that.
He's not the GM anymore, though, is he?
No, but he's still over there.
That'd be pretty bad if Ron Francis out GM'd Carolina.
It really would.
I mean, then again, though, it's like Rutherford also wouldn't let him spin to the cap, so that's not I'm sorry, Cormanos wouldn't let him spin all the way to the cap, so that's not entirely his fault.
Let's see. Anything else? Because we are starting to get a flurry of trades from Friedman and LeBron right now.
Yeah, so it might not be over yet. We can still maybe catch a Hail Mary here. It ain't looking good, though.
Nope. Mm-mm.
Friedman's page won't even load. There's so damn many things coming up on it. Rate limits are, you remember that year the rate limits kicked in on free agency day? I think it was 2023 free agency day, and you couldn't see anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember that.
All right, I'm going to give it until about 3:20 or 3:30. I'll give it until 3:30 before I absolutely call it. Like, we don't have to get off the stream. I'm waiting on the press conference to come up, and I'm going to pull that up.
Okay.
Let's see anything else. I'll do a post-trade deadline recap sometime tomorrow. Well, I mean, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see if anything else.
This is the least excited I've been about the playoffs since Rod took over the team. Even last year, I was more excited than this, knowing that at some point or another they were going to get killed. It happened a lot later than I thought it would. I thought Washington was going to have their revenge tour on us until I saw it. I thought for sure that they were going to drag us to 7 and beat us in that one, but them splitting it on the road really helped.
Yeah, It's just weird though, just because like everybody's expectations was like, yeah, Carolina probably not going to do much in the playoffs last year, and then that's when they make the big move. So it's just like the timing's weird. It really is.
I mean, they filled one need with Delorier. It's just I don't want to be negative about it, but I kind of don't know how else to feel.
Okay, it's official. Rangers did not trade Vincent Trocheck.
Drury is a moron. Oh my God. Let him stay in New York forever, please. And I would also like to extend a thank you to Kevin Adams for making Buffalo bad for as long as you did. You will always be forever a Kane to us.
Yep.
Shit, Carolina's going to get first rounded, dude. My God.
Well, I mean, I don't think they get first rounded. I mean, I would say with the way the teams are in the playoffs, they probably go to conference finals again, but they're probably going to lose again.
Yeah, and then the
Probably
other thing,
get swept.
yeah, or it's I don't know, man. This is just I was hoping that it's like a lot of people were critical of Tulsky from the beginning. One of them very well. You and I both know very well.
Oh yeah.
But I gave him a chance here, but it's like if it was Nadeau, it was then yeah, you cut that deal. So like I'll withhold judgment until $9 million in cap space.
I thought we had 11 million.
Well, yeah, if you account for daily accrual and everything, it's probably up to something like that now. But yeah, like this is basically the same team from last year. It's just Stankoven's playing center instead. You got Ehlers and you got Keandre Miller.
Yeah, I just don't think that's enough, especially with that center core. And you had assets, you had the cap space. Really, like you think about it, they probably could have maybe at least done something. Like I like Jankowski, but I mean
that makes one of us.
Well, I mean, I like Jankowski, but I think in the playoffs, ideally, you want him to be a depth guy.
Yeah. And
you could even like get a marginal upgrade over a guy like him. It's just like, what are you thinking that they're doing? It makes you wonder.
Yeah, I'm wondering about a lot of stuff, but
and when it comes to free agency, like I mean, Carolina, they'll probably say the same thing. Well, the prices were too high.
Yeah,
it's a price game everywhere. Free agency, trade deadline, it is a price game everywhere. So it's just, I'm not surprised though.
No, I mean I called this yesterday. They weren't going to do anything. I mean, I'm not upset about what they did do. I just don't think it's enough.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean we might not find out until 3:30 or 4.
You have KK that you could have traded. You have a first round pick still from Dallas, a third round pick from Dallas. Bradley Nadeau, who, like, if he's not even going to want, if they don't want him to be on this team, why are you still keeping him? And it's the same thing with KK. Like, why are you still keeping these players if you know they're not going to work? Because to me, that's more of a disservice to the players.
See, this is funny here. Ghost of Don Waddell, who has been watching the stream. I don't know if he's still in here. He has a post that says, hearing reports that Tulsky is stuck in line at Chipotle getting the new chicken al pastor. At that point, I will want him fired, not because of him not doing his job, but because he's at Chipotle instead of Moe's. I don't associate with those people.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, Moe's absolutely clears Chipotle by miles.
Yeah,
like it's not close.
Sounds like the Isles have dealt Jonathan Drouin.
Okay, let's see where he goes.
Oh, it looks like he went to the Blues, part of the Shin trade, maybe.
Okay, that makes sense. And then they'll have the 2 picks along with that.
Leafs traded Scott Lawton.
Where'd he go?
I don't know yet. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just trying to understand what the price might have been for Trocheck here. So Braden Shen he's a center. He got traded to from St. Louis to the Islanders.
And it was Drouin, a first and a third, I think it was.
Drouin, a first and a third, and Marcus Gidloff, so a prospect.
Okay, so if that's the case, that's a player, a prospect, 2 picks. If that's the case, then Drury was probably looking for Nadeau, something ridiculous. Nadeau for the prospect, one of the roster players, probably Blake or Stankoven, and 2 picks. If that's the case, you can't do that. That's too much. You can't do that.
Yeah. That probably is a little bit too much, to be honest.
Yeah, if that just ends up being the case, because the moment that trade was made with Shin, I think that because Carolina was in on him was in on Trocheck, then that trade occurred, and then shortly after that, it was announced that they were out on him. So it has to be that Drury maintained his asking price based on that. Chris Drury should not be a GM, like, if that's how he does business, because it's screwing up the rest of the league to have a guy that bad at his job. I think that, like, someone like Delta Force or something should just go in and remove him from his job. Just go in there, going through the roof, black bag him, and drag him out.
It's a divisional rival, so so if it's with any team,
I'm happy for them to stay bad.
Yeah, having them stay bad. You can have that job all you want.
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting to see what that asking price was, because I have a feeling we're going to be a lot less pissed off about it after we see it, because we're going to be like, oh, nope, never mind, that is not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I will admit, I was probably a little bit emotional right after 3, and now I'm trying to think. That's usually how I work.
Yeah,
I get emotional at first, and then I think, I'm like, okay.
And then it's like, and then you have a few minutes, and you're like, okay, hold on, let's look at this rationally, and then everything becomes a lot more clear. Because I was like that, especially about Gensel. At first I didn't like the return for Rantanen, and I didn't think it was good enough. But in that situation, it's about the best you were going to get.
Yeah, I will admit I get emotional at times, but I just eventually I get there when it comes to thinking about this stuff in a rational way. Oh man, anything else, or is that it? We should be hearing from Tulsky today.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting on right now. Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe it's just the circumstances, unfortunately, did not line up with what the team needed. And, it gets to a point where the risk is not worth the reward, and maybe that's just what went down this time.
Yeah. Well, you have until free agency day to probably improve this team, but like, I mean, sh- I probably wouldn't have gone after Trocheck. Probably what they were asking. Thomas probably would have been more. To be honest, just looking back at this whole day, Brandon, to me, the team that I'm probably pissed off at most is Toronto because I felt like the trade of Nick Raw to Colorado really
Hmm.
set the price for centers. And the fact that it costed a first round pick for a guy like Nick Raw, who got like what around 20 something points.
Yeah, was a third liner at best, and
Like
the market just absolutely screwed us.
yeah, so I'm pissed at Toronto, to be honest. just
I
looking
think
at
I'm
the
more
whole
pissed
day.
off at St. Louis for what they got for Shin, because at that point it's like whatever Drury was demanding for Trocheck, it was probably at the point where he didn't have to say yes anymore because that kept the price on Trocheck through the roof.
Yep, exactly.
Well, see, the
But
thing about it
I
is,
bet yeah.
oh, I was just going to pull this comment up here.
Mhm.
Knowing Tulsky, there's no way he didn't try. I understand he tried, but here's the thing about it. In everyday life, if you don't do good at your job, you get fired. If you don't meet the standard that has been given to you, you get fired. Unless you're in the military, they'll just throw your ass in the brig or the restriction barracks and take half your pay away for 2 months. Not saying that happened to me. It totally did. But, I learned my lesson. But, it's like at some point or another, it's like you can't just keep saying, well, he tried. Like, okay, he tried. Next thing you know, Slavin's retired and Aho's like thinking about going somewhere else to try and chase a cup when he's 34.
Yeah. Well, at least we don't have to worry about that part now.
Nope. Nope. It's go to war with the army you got now. Good luck.
I mean, I hate talking about like that analogy of like what was it, window being open.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do think if you look at this roster, I think the window's open for quite some time
Stand
because
by
they're
1
still
second.
young.
Let me get this on the screen here. Hold on, I'm going to get this on the screen.
Okay, Frank Saravelli, Carolina is done. Nick Delorier was their only transaction. So we are done.
I don't know if there's sound on this or not, but I'm listening to it.
Oh, is there no sound coming?
It only works on Chrome, and I'm on Firefox. But I'm listening to it, so I imagine everyone else is.
Yeah. Honestly, probably like I'm. Oh, Tolsky's speaking. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was looking at Twitter while you were saying that stuff. Yeah, I cannot hear him.
dramatically different than maybe previous years when you've gone through this process?
Yeah, it was kind of a strange deadline because there were a lot of teams that were sort of.
Sam, is that unbearable?
I can barely hear it.
Okay, hold up. I'm trying to come up with a way to. I want to put it through the microphone. It's just I would have to switch to a different browser to do it, so I don't want to do that. We'll just do this.
I can go on Twitter on my own though, if you want me to, but
Yeah. But yeah, there's no audio, so because I'd have to go over to Chrome to do. Actually, you know what? I'll just do that. Stand by.
oh, okay.
It might be over by the time I get it pulled up.
He's still speaking.
Okay. Wait, I'm in the wrong one. Come here. I need to start using Chrome more often for this anyway.
It was second line center question.
Oh God, I gotta hurry up.
He thinks Logan's been great in that role.
See, I'm not questioning if Logan can do it in the regular season. I'm questioning how it would go in the playoffs. Okay. All right. 1 second here. Close that.
He says we have 3 of the top 40 centers on our team. I wish there was a fact checker.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. Okay, let's close that.
Oh, Brandon left the chat. But I will let you guys know right now that currently Tulski is speaking. There you are.
Share screen.
Of course we are, but completely comfortable with him in that role.
With the play of Joel Nystrom and Charles Alexis-Ligo kind of put to bed, any thoughts of maybe adding more depth defensively?
Yeah. So I would say, last year that was one of the things we ran into when we got into the playoffs was we had a couple injuries on D and we had guys going into the lineup who had barely played, and it was a challenge.
Is there audio this time?
Through the
Yep,
kind of
I can
injuries we had
definitely
this
hear it.
year. I would much rather have not had that happen, but being 9 or 10 deep through October and November meant we got a lot of time to see guys and see them play. And like I said, we came out of that in first place, right? So it's, there is a comfort level this year with the players that we have stepping in, both on D and up front. When we have injuries, we've got guys who we know can play. We've got guys in the AHL we're going to be looking for opportunities to get them into the lineup. And so a lot of the moves that happened out there today were teams trying to add the depth that we feel like we already have. And, it's great to have guys who we're trying to find ice time for instead of guys we're trying to replace.
Eric, was there any look at trying to improve the goaltending situation?
Yeah, unless I missed something, I don't think any goalies got moved today. Certainly nobody who would be considered, sort of a high-end 1A starter. It's a tough position to fill at the deadline because teams that are getting good goaltending are in the playoffs, and teams that aren't, have a guy who may not be what you're looking for. The goalies we have, Brandon's been great for us this year.
I appreciate
Freddie, I know,
that.
has taken a little bit of grief. I think he's been a lot better than his numbers reflect. I think he's been playing well recently, and we're comfortable with the two of them. And then Piotr's working his way back from injury, and we'll see his timeline. He may be in the mix by the time we get to the playoffs.
That would be great.
We
Yes,
hear
it
a lot
would,
about,
actually.
I thought he was
showing the
shut down
team
for
that
the
you believe
season.
in them by making moves at the deadline. I'm wondering from your seat what you think about that. Do you think it's if we do something, it gives our guys a boost? Or is it if we don't do something, it's, hey, guys, you're our guys and we believe in you?
Yeah, I mean, both are true. I know players are excited to see reinforcements come in, and I want to do that for them just as much as they want to see it. We all want, nobody is more competitive than us, and
That's the answer right there.
up and down the organization, we are extremely aggressive in trying to add. Ultimately, it's not about my faith in them. It's about the opportunities there were in the market to actually make additions that would make us better. And I would love to bring someone in that, is one of those top 20 players and makes everyone say we're one guy closer to getting those top 20 all on one team. It just wasn't there to be done this year.
Hey, Eric, just had a quick question about the guys who are on the roster. If other teams were aggressive in trying to snag guys from the roster because there is depth at a lot of different places.
Yeah, I mean, we had a couple of calls on some guys. In the end, we are trying to win a cup here, and it would have been hard to move players out, whether they're, regardless of what role they play. We expect to need everybody on this team at some point down the stretch. And so we did have some calls. We explored some things, but in the end, we're trying to win a cup, and we didn't want to thin our team out heading into the playoffs.
Eric, not to put you at odds with Rod, but it just so happens a couple days ago, somebody did mention Kochetkov, and he said, no, nothing has changed. He will not be ready. You kind of just moments ago mentioned he could be. Do you, just to clarify for us, is that a possibility, especially depending how far the team would go in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm not a doctor and don't really know. My understanding at the time of the surgery was if things went well, he might be back in the mix.
But he is a doctor, just not a medical one.
It's still very early. I don't think we really know the timeline yet. I think there is certainly a chance that if the team goes deep, he's back in it by the end for us, maybe even earlier than that, but it really depends how things go.
To follow up my question about the room and how they react, the guy you did get, is that the kind of player that maybe gives your guys a little more of a boost as far as, knowing there's a guy there to, we know Delorier is one of the best fighters in the league, to stand up for them if need be?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, a lot of toughness is personal and internal, right? Am I going to take it or not is what toughness is all about to me. It's not really, do I have someone else to go take care of it for me? And I think we have a group of guys that has that internal toughness, that fight. Again, Stankoven's the smallest guy in the world, and he's grabbed guys and started fights when he thought it needed to happen, right? So it's like we do have that fire, but of course it's easier to have that toughness when you've got a guy like Delorier out there with you. And so providing that for when it feels like games are getting more intense and, that might be useful to people is something we wanted to look for.
Eric, from a general manager standpoint, how hard is it when everybody wants like the Nikishins, the Blakes, and the Nadeaus for you to look to the future and hold on to those prospects? How tough is it when someone maybe offers you a chance to take those guys and get a piece that would help right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're not afraid at all to trade futures for things that make us better right now. We have a really good team, and the goal is to win cups. And if, like I said, the deal that brought in Keandre moved out a lot of future value for a guy who we think helps us right now and puts us in position to win a cup right now. And if there were other deals like that out there to be had, we would have done them. Deals where we felt like it, the players that we really wanted, who we felt like would have really improved our odds this year, would have cost us pieces that we felt like would be a step back in the near term and future. And then it's, what's the point? So having some discipline to be able to walk away from those moves and not feel like you have to do something is part of being able to run a team. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, one thing I did not like, I'm going to flat out say, is the status of Kochetkov. Because now there's a disconnect there between the coach and Brendan
front
Moore
office.
and Tulsky. That does not suit well with me, to be
No, I
honest.
worry about that a little bit too. Like that's that does worry me a little bit. That makes me think, how much do these guys communicate, and how do they communicate?
Yeah, that kind of a little bit angered me. And you know what? Good job on that. I don't know who that reporter was, but good job on that reporter for pointing that out with the fact that Brandon Moore said, no, don't expect Kochetkov at all a couple of days ago. Good on him.
Yeah, because like it's there's too many of the people in that room, the reporters, who don't ask tough questions, and it was nice. That was refreshing to hear someone actually do that. Because I mean, I remember Ryan Hinkle tried to press Rod on how Burns was playing one time last year, and Rod just shut him down and told him that he was wrong and that Burns was playing fine, because that's exactly what was going on. I don't know, man. I don't feel good.
I'm just all the other stuff they said. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's about what I expected out of that press conference. It's nothing really new to us.
But oh my gosh, just him saying, "Oh, Kochetkov might be ready for the playoffs," and then that report's like, "Well, 2 days ago, Brendan Moore said no." Oh, that ticked me off.
Well, at least they got all the cap space for the extensions that are kicking in, and they will hopefully.
They're
have
only
enough
going to
to-
have $15 million
Yeah.
in cap space.
So yeah, so Freddie comes off the books.
Nikishin, though, what do
Then
you
you
give
gotta-
him?
Considering he's not played that many minutes and not scored that many points, you could probably keep him under 8 reasonably, I would say. More like
I do a bridge
7.5.
deal with him.
Bridge deal might be best for both parties, but
Yes.
I won't say why I think this, but it is from someone I talked to. I'm not entirely convinced he wants to be here, just to be perfectly honest.
Nikishin?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I'm not
just-
surprised either.
I'm
I
not gonna
don't
say
think
who I-
he's played well at all
Well,
recently.
yeah, and it's not like he's playing bad, because it's just, it seems like the effort that was there when everything started, it just doesn't look the same. And it's like, this is stuff I heard a long time ago from someone relatively reputable, that there's a strong possibility he doesn't want to be in Carolina. I hope that's not true. I hope that's just something that got lost in translation between the person who heard it from that person and who I heard it from. I'm hoping maybe that's not a I hope that's not a verbatim thing, but I'm just not 100% convinced he wants to be here. I mean, I expect he'll do well in the playoffs because he needs that for his contract wherever he plays. So it's just, the thing about it is, here's one thing I want to think about that I talked about a little bit yesterday. They were talking about how good they think that Stankoven's done at the center position. And I've already talked about how I'm worried about how it might not translate in the playoffs.
I think he's done better, but
He has
I'm not
improved
saying.
significantly.
Yeah.
He's improved a lot. The thing about it is, there was another player that wears number 82 that did the same thing in 22-23, and then he fell off a cliff after a couple of months the next season. And if that happens with Stankoven, it's kind of like, at that point, I've got some questions, and then not to mention, people would probably turn on him like they did KK.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I see the comparison that you're comparing with Stinkov and KK. I do, because it's basically the experimentation. It's
Mhm.
basically let's put a young guy there, see if he can develop to be a second line center because it's already hard enough as it is to try and get a second line center.
Mhm.
Um, I
I
think
mean,
time will only tell with Stankoven. I do think the only disadvantage with Stankoven is his size. I d- and this is not a knock at KK. Well, it's tough. But how I see Stink Oven play, I see a lot more bite and tenacity in his play than I've ever seen KK when well, I would say at a more consistent level. Because St. Ovens always has been way more consistent with his tenacity than KK has. KK at points has shown it. There have been games where I was like, hey, he has actually played a good game, but he's just not consistent. And he kind of gives me shades of Victor Rask.
see that's what worries me about it, because Victor Rask fell off a cliff, and then he
Yep.
had that injury in the kitchen when he was slicing the sweet potatoes, and then he was never the same after that. And but the thing about it is, you could at least get Victor Rask out and get back something you needed, because that's how you got Niederreiter. So I'm just like, I don't know, man. This just something just doesn't feel right here. Like there's something off. I mean, I'm a firm believer that like eventually the wheels are going to go off on this, because when you left for a minute the first time when you went to go answer your phone or whatever it was, I was
Mm-hmm.
talking about the in aviation they have this thing called the Swiss cheese model. Every time that you fly an aircraft, or that you're on an aircraft, or that an aircraft operates, there's some sort of threat to you where something goes wrong, and eventually the holes in that are those issues, they line up. And when all those things line up, that's when a catastrophic mishap happens. For example, you might take a jet up, it might have one or two little things wrong with it. That's not a problem. But then another jet that's flying in the same vicinity you are has a couple of things wrong with it. And then the air traffic controller's having an off day, and then that's another hole that's lining up. And then next thing you know, you're having near misses in midair, or collisions or stuff like that. And that's what I feel like is kind of going on with this organization. The Swiss cheese model is starting to line up a little bit, and when everything does come off the rails, it's coming off hard. Anything short of a Stanley Cup Finals appearance, or at least a very, very interesting conference finals, is going to start sending the fans into a bit of a. I think it's going to send them into a bit of a free fall. Now, there's going to be some people that are going to be like, hey, it's not the Dark Ages, so don't worry about it. It's fine. Just shut up and give us your money and enjoy it. And then there's going to be the newer fans that, to their credit, they have never they didn't experience the stuff we experienced, but part of
Yep.
the reason they didn't is because the team wasn't marketed very well. So that was part of the reason that people didn't go to games. In the Revolution timeframe, you couldn't find anything about the Hurricanes outside of Raleigh. It's like you couldn't see a billboard outside of the Triangle about them. Like there were people who didn't even know that they existed. So now it's like they've got a lot more reach, and the marketing improved drastically under Dundon. That was one of the first things that turned around, was the marketing and the in-game experience. So now it's like, now you're in this situation where it's like, if you piss enough people off again, especially with prices already going up for season tickets to the point where we know a few people who aren't renewing them. I've never had them because I've never lived there, and I was hoping to maybe get some next year, since I live closer now. All those things are lining up to the point where a lot of people who already went through that dark age are only going to sit so long through the playoff purgatory before they start to check out. And then, of course, you have the fair weather fans who are only there when the team is good. We've seen plenty of that. Nobody that follows us or anything like that. The people who follow us are, mostly people who got into it a little bit later, or they're diehards, and which both of those are fine. But then it's like, I'm worried about it becoming the Toronto corporate fan farm here, and that they care more about making sure that those people are happy and that they have reasons to come to games and network, as opposed to caring about what's going on the ice, because that's happened in other markets. And a lot of the things that the Hurricanes are doing right now are things that premeditated that happening in other markets. The View Bar is cool. I love it. Like, we were up there when I was there this
Oh
past
yeah,
weekend.
that was cool.
That is so sick. I love it. But the thing about it is, fans are the ones that are paying for that, ultimately.
Oh yeah.
All those amenities are why the ticket prices are going up. And the one thing that I think that nearly all of us want in exchange, except for the ones who just throw the sweater on to go there and network because they work for one of those big research companies in the Triangle, they want the team to win. And after a while, it's going to be kind of like, hey, what's going on here? What are we doing?
Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing. Like, you talk about like the fans paying. Ultimately, they're kind of paying because in order for the team to get fans is to win. Basically, that's basically the model for every team.
Yeah.
But I mean, with them, I mean, what it's kind of like whatever roster decision they do, it not only affects the team, it affects the fans. I can tell you right now. And while we can talk about like the prices for centers being sky high, and I probably agree with that. At the same time, am I going to be doing the pay for play thing for the playoffs? No.
Nah, because that's a
No.
road to nowhere. So it's like,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing about it. It's just kind of like, it's like, and we are in a unique situation in our market because there are a lot of subplants. There are a lot of people predominantly from other big hockey markets because they're all from the Northeast. They're all from Boston. They're all from New York.
Mm-hmm.
You have a decent amount of people that are from Detroit. You have several military bases nearby because you have Fort Bragg, Seymour Johnson, and if you want to throw it in there, Norfolk is close. So when their team is in town, and I've done the same thing, obviously. When their team is in town, they go out of their way to make it to those games. And then if it's a playoff game, they're going to try even harder, especially if they live in the state and you don't have to worry about the geo restrictions. And then they buy tickets for all their friends and bring them in. And then next thing you know, half of a playoff game, people are wearing Rangers sweaters. And then to make matters worse, I had a friend that was at Game 7 in 2022 versus the Rangers. And he said that he saw people who were at Game 5 and Kane stuff and then had Ranger stuff on in Game 7. The exact same people. So where we're kind of in a unique situation there is that not only do at this point, you don't have to worry about the building being empty anymore. I think that
No.
ship has sailed.
Gosh, no.
What you have to worry about now is half the building or greater is road fans, which we've already seen that in playoff games. If you start losing the pay-to-play season ticket members like you, that's one more seat that's getting filled by a Rangers fan, a Sabres fan, or a Boston fan, and then that hurts the off ice, or that hurts the guys on the ice because they lose home ice advantage, which maybe they're not consciously noticing that when they're playing, but they feel it.
Yep. Exactly. Well, I probably need to get off here because I'm planning on releasing Friday's episode. It's usually Friday morning, but with this being trade deadline day, I'm gonna be releasing it tonight. So
yeah, and I'll make sure to post a link to it as always. I appreciate you coming on here, man. That improved the quality of the show. It's nice to have someone to talk to and bounce stuff off of because I was just sitting here going any minute. And I was literally I'm the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland just sitting.
yeah.
I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use. Do you know what this is?
No, I do not.
This is a TF-16N. The thing that makes this one unique, it's basically this is an F-16B model where they take the gun out of it because it's used for aggressor training, which are the guys who pretend to be foreign adversary aircraft. They take the gun out of it so it can lose some weight, so it's more maneuverable. Fuel lasts longer, it can stay in the air longer. The ferry range and combat effective radius are better. And the reason this one is called a TF-16N and not an F-16 is it's got 2 seats in it so that Navy pilots who are not familiar with the F-16 can learn to fly it. This is the only F-16s that the Navy has because it's completely an Air Force platform in our country. I had to talk about something that I like for a second just to kind of take the edge off here.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's really hard to recording solo because you don't have anything to bounce off of.
It depends on what it is. There's times where it's like when I do my pre and post game shows, that's not hard because I got all the stuff on the slides and I have like my
Mhm.
source material that I can reference, right there. And those aren't hard to do. Any other time, if I'm just like, it's like the night the Renton trade happened, I was so happy that you guys came on because you came on, AB came on, Griff came on. I think all of us were there. I think at one point, all 5 of us were there.
Yeah, I
when
remember
happened.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, all 5 of us were there, and that was a great time to have everybody there because that was a big deal, and I didn't want to talk about it by myself. And I'm not always right either. It's like there's times where like you guys say stuff to me, and it kind of gets me, it's thought provoking, and I'm like, okay, maybe that's a better way to look at it. But it's like I just one of the reasons I don't respect Steve Dangle is if he were in our situation, he'd be having a meltdown right now and start talking about tanks at the border or whatever the hell he was going on about the other day.
He's known for that. That's what
That's how
gives
he
him
got
juice.
famous. Yeah, and I don't want to be like that. I mean, I wouldn't be but I also am someone who I will admit I have to like before something like this, I have to and know that like, okay, the people that follow us don't like that type of stuff, and I'm not like that anyway. So, but I am very, very glad you were here to kind of temper everything going on and offer a fresh perspective. You are always welcome here.
Yeah, no problem, man. Glad to be on. Well, gotta head out, so
All right, brother.
see you,
I will
Brandon.
see you soon. Thank you for joining us. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Whatever are we going to do? Well, I can tell you what I'm going to do. I planned to have burgers today, which will be the first time I've had them since I had them at Bad Daddy's on Friday, because I only let myself have burgers once a week because of how much I love them. But instead of it just being burgers tonight, I have a special burger called the Nothing Burger that I will be shortly consuming here. I will probably post a meme about it. I will laugh, and I will go play more of Halo the Master Chief Collection because I never got to sit down and play those, and it was on sale on Steam for $10, and I played some of it last night, and I will be back to doing so this evening. I will probably watch the game. I will not be doing any streams or shows or anything like that. I just kind of want to take some time to think about and assess where the team goes from here and how good their chances really are, because right now I don't feel good about it. And it'll give me an opportunity to kind of look at some positives if there are any. Delorier definitely is a positive. It's just a factor of whether he's enough. In isolation, he's not, in my opinion. And I don't see myself changing my opinion on that particular subject matter. Also, we have to see what the playoff bracket will look like. But no point in being mad about it. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. Yeah, J-Dub, that's one thing I'm worried about is if Delorier would be in the lineup, if they would pull anybody out to put him in, which I don't know if they would or not, because I don't even know how to answer any of this stuff, man. I really don't. That's part of the reason I'm not really doing anything on comments today. I don't really know what else to say. I just kind of want to let y'all talk amongst yourselves and vent and everything like that. And I do just want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for being here. And this is fun to do despite any circumstances, because at the end of the day, it's sports, it's entertainment, it's not a life or death thing for the most part. But I am a bit like, I'm really passionate about this stuff, but like I said, I'm not gonna have Steve Dangle style meltdowns about that. That's just not my personality. When I was younger, maybe, but nowadays, no. Slightly older Brandon is a little bit more calm and a little bit more reserved and a little bit more rational about things like this. Uh, I don't really like how today transpired, but it's not going to stop me from supporting the team or watching playoffs or anything like that. Of course, I'm going to do that, but it's like for a long time it was just like, well, at least they're in the playoffs, and you had that, and after going so long without it, it's it's fun. But at some point or another, all the good memories of making the playoffs over and over again, they're gonna start to fade. Like I said, it's a playoff purgatory right now. Does that change this year? In my opinion, as it currently stands, no. If anything, I think it's going to be worse. I think that the results this season will not be as good as next season. And I've already talked about it, but I'll talk about it a little bit more. Carolina has a tougher first round matchup than they've had in the past waiting on them. They'll probably win, but it'll take a big bite out of them. And then second round will, it depends on who wins what. But I'm going to do my best to reserve judgment. I don't want to just go on some profanity-laced tirade about it because that doesn't help. I want to take some time to kind of think and come to the most rational conclusion I can. The one thing I will promise you guys, and this also involves with also accounts for how situations may evolve over the course of time. I will never lie to y'all. I might be wrong about stuff. I might change my opinion on things. But as it stands right now, I will not sit here and tell you that everything is fine with this team. Maybe you think it is. If you think that way, I'm cool with that. It's fine. It's just a small difference of opinion. I personally do not think that everything is fine with this team, and I think that this might be the catalyst to the beginning of what I talked about before, the Swiss cheese model. So that's going to be it for me. We will reconvene probably tomorrow sometime, where we'll go over the whole trade deadline. I'll have a little bit more That's a good point, Luke. Sabres first round, Isles second, Tampa, ECF. We'd be happy just to get to the ECF with everyone healthy, yeah. But yeah. We will reconvene tomorrow. I want to take the evening to think about it, take some notes, look at some stats, all that type of stuff. And maybe my perspective will be different tomorrow, but I doubt it. Not enough was done today. Now, if the reason for that is the asking prices were legitimately too high, then they made the right choice. Either way, more needed to be done today. Whatever reason it didn't get done is irrelevant. But you do need to know the reason why, whether that's because of the asking prices or because the front office didn't pull the trigger in a situation where maybe they should have. So, all right, everyone. Have a good evening. Y'all take care. I will see you soon.